Apologize for a little bit of a late start. I blame daylight savings for anything that goes wrong today and the rest of the week. There we go. All right. A bit of a mess here. All right. Well, good morning. Welcome to the Board of Supervisors for Humboldt County, meeting of Tuesday, March 10th, 2026. Kaylee, may we have a roll call, please?
Yes, Chair. Supervisor Madrone.
Present.
Supervisor Bushnell.
Good morning.
Supervisor Bone.
Hi.
Supervisor Arroyo.
Present.
Chair Wilson.
Present.
All are here.
All right. Next on our agenda is the salute to the flag. And Scott, would you lead us in the pledge today? Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Kaylee, can you read in the virtual attendance procedures, please?
Yes. This meeting is being conducted in accordance with the Brown Act and applicable state and local requirements. Members of the public may participate in person and/or remotely as noticed on the agenda. For those participating remotely, public comment is welcomed and encouraged. To help ensure your voice is heard, it is recommended that you raise your hand at the start of the item you wish to comment on. If you are joining by computer or mobile device, please use the raise hand feature to indicate your desire to speak. When it is your turn, you will be unmuted by staff. If you are joining by telephone, please press star 9 to raise your hand. When recognized, you may press star 6 to unmute yourself and begin speaking. Please state your name for the record before making your comment. The board asks that all participants conduct themselves with respect and courtesy. Comments should be directed to the board as a whole and limited to the time allowed. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we're just going to talk about for a second the modifications to the agenda. It looks like item D4, which is the recognition of Scott Hammond, and D10, the adoption of the ordinance amending sections to the tobacco retailer licensing will be pulled from consent. And then we also have on time sets presentation at 10 o'clock, presentation but, on veteran services. And at 10:30, we receive a presentation from Valere Aviation Consulting. And with that, is there anything else that I have in consent?
No, Chair Wilson, you hit it perfectly.
Oh, great. Okay, now we're going to move into the consent calendar. This is where we approve things that are items on consent.
Chair.
Yes.
Thank you. Can I make a statement?
Yes, you may make a statement.
Thank you. I'm going to be recusing from consent calendar today because item D6, I have a conflict. This ranch touches my ranch, and so because of that, because it's closer than the 500 feet, I'll be recusing off consent today.
Okay, good to know. Let's move to public comment on the consent agenda. And Kaylee, do we have anyone online for the consent items?
Yes. Caller 7718, I will unmute you and you'll have 3 minutes.
Kepsolotsky calling from Mexico. Fortunately able to get in after a loss of power, but we're back online here. I did wish to make a comment on D6. D6, you are support of acquisition of Eel Rock Ranch. I didn't, maybe Michelle pulled that so that she wouldn't be voting, or maybe she's not voting on any percent, don't know. Anyway, my comment on there is part of this letter says that this will safeguard culturally significant sites for, it lists 3 different tribes. My understanding is most likely Bear River is in favor of this. I've attended DRTA meetings, and the Round Valley tribe, and maybe the other one here that I'm not really familiar with, it starts with a W. Sounds like a Hawaiian name just about. But I think some of these tribes are not in favor of the Great Redwood Trail, and this basically says that this is going to be used for this kind of purpose, not only provide their things, but as an ancillary use for the Great Redwood Trail. And so I would hope that Supervisor Wilson would have a letter of support from those two tribes, at least, that's all tribes, since you're dropping their name and saying it's for their benefit, supporting both the Great Redwood Trail and acquisition of this particular property for that purpose. You have another topic on there that is of concern to me. It's a rather large rate increase for the ambulance service. I think it's something like 29% over the next 3 years. Their financial statement does not justify that, or their forecast statement shows that they don't necessarily need that, the forecast for 2025. And yet we're going ahead and taking a group of 8% of the people who are paying insurance, who probably won't be down to 1%, nobody can afford it, but they're supposed to pay horrendously more apparently than everybody else. I believe in equity. I'm covered by Medicare, so I'm not one of those people, but I really don't think you should be rubber stamping things like this, that kind of a 29% increase, and most likely over 3 years it would be 9% most likely through the other agencies. So I have an objection to that. So my time's probably about up, so I'm going to get hold with those two particular topics today, and off we go. Thank you.
That's all on Zoom.
All right. Is there anyone in the room that wants to speak to any of the items on the consent calendar? Please come forward. And if I see one person coming up, if there's another, feel free to line up.
Good morning. Good morning, Supervisors. My name is Emily Afriad. I'm the North Coast Regional Director for the Wildlands Conservancy. And I just wanted to respond to the first commenter. And so this property, although it does have the railroad running through it and will be, potentially for the future Great Redwood Trail, the support that we've received from area tribes is more focused on the significant cultural resources of the property and not specifically the trail. So we have had support, and this property has a lot more going for it than just the trail. So I just wanted to say thank you and appreciate your support.
Great, thank you. Is there anyone else here to speak on anything on the consent calendar? On the consent calendar, we have a resolution for Sunshine Week, but usually we just read those out loud if there's someone here to receive it. And so I'm just wondering if Bonnie Oliver from the League of Women Voters or anyone from the League of Women Voters is present to receive that proclamation. Not seeing you here, we will send it to you and acknowledge that. And then if there's anything that board members have to say about anything on the consent calendar, this is the time to say it. Thanks. Supervisor Bone.
Yeah, I appreciate Wildlands stepping up. 5 years ago, I probably would have opposed this because you guys weren't very good neighbors down in Centerville. You've changed management. I've talked to the people down there, and things are moving forward and everything, and I hope you keep that standard that is now present going forward. Except for the Duck Club. I guess the guys are upset about the Duck Club. Wish we could work that out. But anyway, I support this. I understand the people that are selling it. So I do appreciate that. And then I'd like to recognize, I know we've got some Seroptimist awards. Seroptimist is probably one of the best organizations in the county, especially for women's rights and what they do for women. And it's all focused on women. All the groups are. I think there's 3 of them in the county. But I want to, Crystal Miller, I'm not going to tell you the stories. Crystal Miller, Alyssa Boham, Giovanni Pastori, Maria Fernanda Afero, Jennifer Powers, Allison Giles, Alyssa Boham would be good. I am almost positive her grandfather Al Dutton would be so proud right now because I know her mother is. Amaya Matthews, and Elia Paleo. I want to recognize those people for what they've accomplished, and I want to recognize Seroptimist for recognizing them because, I mean, most people don't want the recognition. We get a lot of it up here. we do the job because it's a job, but I think when people get recognized for what they're doing, I think is a great thing. So as we all do these for the chambers and everything else. And then anyway, yeah, that's, I'm good.
Great. Any other supervisor have anything to say about the consent calendar? Supervisor Madrone.
Yeah, well, I want to thank Wildlands Conservancy for being here, and I appreciate your comments, Supervisor Bone, as well. You know, co-management and working next to other landowners always takes a lot of effort to try and make that all work out, and I appreciate the progress that's been made in that regards. I've also heard the same things out in the Eel River Canyon about improvements in working with neighbors, fencing, all kinds of different things. But these purchases are from willing sellers, and I appreciate the comment that was made about a lot of the focus is on protecting cultural resources. And frankly, with Wildlands Conservancy's purchases, it really gives the Great Redwood Trail an opportunity to potentially reroute the trail into Wildlands Conservancy property. A lot of work has to be done to figure all that stuff out, but there's a lot of opportunity to potentially reroute away from sites that are along the old railroad grade that are highly culturally sensitive sites, et cetera. I enjoyed my tour out there of Lone Pine Ranch about 2 years ago, and I commend the Wildlands Conservancy and all its donors for stepping up and working with landowners in the case of willing sellers to create some options and opportunities. And Wildlands is going to have a lot of their own campgrounds and other facilities. So I commend you for that effort. Thanks for being here.
Mike?
Supervisor Bone.
And if you guys notice some carve-outs on the road and everything else, 58 years ago, that's exactly where I learned to drive, across the river, down there at the old ranch house, at the old train station and everything else. So that's where I learned to drive, spent a lot of weekends out there with the Nunamakers, Chubb, and my best friend Dean. So those are my fault, sorry.
Anything else, guys? All right. Supervisor Arroyo, how about a motion?
Great. I'll move approval of the consent calendar.
Second.
Excellent. I associate myself with all of the praise for Seroptimus that was expressed here today. Is there any objection to unanimous consent for the motion?
Kaylee, can you do unanimous with one? I don't believe so. I think we
Okay.
have to do roll call
You're
vote.
right. You're right. Let's do it. Roll call vote, please.
Thank you, Chair. Supervisor Madrone,
Yes.
Supervisor Bone,
Yes.
Supervisor Arroyo, yes. Chair Wilson,
Yes.
and Bushnell recused.
All
Motion
right.
carries 4-0.
Okay. Next on the agenda is public comment. Oh, no, items pulled from consent. So the first thing is going to be, let's see, let's just do it in order. D4, recognition of Scott Hammond for his work honoring veterans in Humboldt County. Take it away, Supervisor Bone.
Well, Scott's it's great to have this today with the veterans report coming forward, because most of them show up every month at Scott's recognition of our veterans. Some have been Don Biasca, Korean War. We've done World War II vets. We've done a lot of, we've done some younger ones. Our own DA's office has got a recipient here recently. But the idea that we're recognizing what they have done, what people that have been out there doing it and everything else, I'd like to call all these guys out because, they're all friends of mine, and I got to work with Brian for 20-some-odd years and have known Donna even longer. So, it's what he does and what he brings forward on his own dime and time with a lot of help from a lot of other, Pierre's always there. Pierre's everywhere. But that's what it takes to keep that alive and realize that nobody... It's a cliche, but freedom isn't free. And to, now that we're, in another conflict, we need to be aware of that. And I wanted to thank you in a proper way. So we've got a certificate for Scott somewhere that we're waiting. I'd like to present it to him, and I'd like Scott to say a few words, and then I think it was there for you to sign, because it says sign here. Save this, Scott. This is going to be worth money years from now. Yes, sir. A certified Mike Wilson signature. Anyway, I'll bring this down. Auto pen. Stick with that, Joe. This don't know, haven't come standard. This is one of you guys all terrorists. Yeah. That's the version of our wall.
Not too often you get to stand with Rex Bone. You can stand with me anytime you want, you know that. Now, here, I'll get on Rick right here. Where's your boyfriend? Oh, there he is. Oh, whatever. She's trying to get separated. Thanks, guys. I appreciate you. Thank you. You already recognized.
You get to talk.
Yeah.
Huh? You got 30 seconds.
30 seconds.
All right, Scott.
Well, thanks, Supervisors. Appreciate you.
You get to keep this.
Oh, you don't want it? Okay.
I was gonna put it on my wall.
Okay. I got it. You got to hold it? Okay. I don't know where to start. I'll start at the beginning. My dad was a World War II vet, P-51 pilot. And not everybody dies, but they come back a little dead. And he drank Budweiser in a bottle for 40 years to forget about all the things he saw. Then he died 40 years sober, which was really cool because he really came back like a good Army Air Corps guy does. So in dedication to him, we started this 10 years ago. A guy in radio sales guy goes, "Hey, they do this at Texoma Hero." I go, "I mean, they recognize veterans at Billy Bonham's Chrysler in Texoma, Texas? How about a Humboldt Hero? Could we do that here?" He goes, "Heck yeah, and you can buy some radio time too." So we were off to the races. It wouldn't be appropriate to not recognize first responders, military people, past, present, future, all y'all MVets. None of this happens in a vacuum. It's a bit of work. Carrie Jo Bentley is my right hand in this at work. She's amazing. So a lot of people involved. It takes a village, and it's really true. And I want to just take a minute to recognize you all because these are nice occasions, is what my dad used to say. So this is a little brief, nice occasion. And what's beautiful about you guys and all of us is we have the opportunity to support supporters today. So that person, that woman, that man, that friend, that kid that is out there helping people, you could come alongside and support them and come under them and bless them and speak and touch and bless and be part of their world. And so you guys have done that for us today. So I want to say a big thanks. And I would be remiss to not mention my dear friend, my brother, Pierre Carbonneau. Thank you, Pierre. Thank you. And thank you, supervisors. Thank you. God bless Humboldt County. God bless America. Thanks.
Okay, I'm going to move to public comment online, but if there's anyone in the room that wants to also comment on this,
You want to comment?
please.
I never miss an opportunity.
How many do we have online?
There is none.
There is none. Okay, we're moving past online since there's no hands up there.
Well,
We're in the room.
Last time I was here, I owe you an apology, and I did apologize to you, Ms. Royal. And you guys and gals are doing a great job. Appreciate it. What makes Humboldt Heroes different than most organizations is we don't care what you did in the military. If you were a storekeeper or a Green Beret, you're all the same. You're a veteran of the United States of America. You worked as the whole. And we in Humboldt thank you for being what you did. And so that makes Humboldt Heroes different than any other organization. And I thank Humboldt for that. And God bless Humboldt. Thank you.
Is there anyone else to comment on this agenda item here? Seeing none, I'm going to bring it back to the board. And Supervisor Bushnell.
Thank you. I just want to say that I've enjoyed the few that I've been to up here in Eureka, and I know that you got to do the only man and wife that you've done, which was my cousin, the Pancos, and so it was really awesome. And I think what I heard throughout your Humboldt Heroes on Fridays is that what they did mattered, and that if it's a very proud moment for them. The people that get recognized. And so thank you for doing it. And I heard you say that it's a village, it takes a village, and it really does. But someone had to start that village, and that's where you come in. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Madrone.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Scott, for doing a lot to honor our vets and for creating a rhyme and giving a dime for your time. And for this honoring. Thank you, Scott.
Thank you, Supervisor Madrone. I, again, associate myself with all the positive expressions here of our vets, and having a grandfather who's buried at Arlington, it's a special honor, and I really appreciate it. And I appreciate Scott, really, for highlighting service in our community and supporting supporters. Appreciate that. That's that community web is an important thing to talk about. It's not just the individuals, it's how we all work together. And I really appreciate that. And we're going to close out with comments from the veteran on our board.
Thank you. Yes, I am our board's veteran and still serving as a lieutenant in the Coast Guard. I appreciate so much that you've spent 10 years lifting up the stories of individual veterans and their families, and not only through in-person recognition, but through your podcasting. And I don't know if actually, Scott, do you run the podcast, or is it a collaborative effort? It's all you. Hey, that's a lot. That's a lot of effort to put into different forms of sharing people's stories. And it's so important for people to hear the stories of real life, everyday veterans, because I think we get reduced to a monoculture. When people think of a veteran, they think of perhaps one era, one type of person. They have someone in their mind who perhaps has gotten a lot of glory for, and well-deserved, I'm sure. And there are so many people that it takes to do the logistics, the supply, the vehicle maintenance, the making sure that people get paid, making sure that people get health insurance. Being a veteran is a job that a lot of people pursue because they don't have as much economic opportunity, and it provides, being a service member, but then being a veteran over time. But because of I will say in my family, that's what it looked like, was an opportunity to have job stability and a better life for their children. So I come from a big military family of folks who served and who created opportunities by doing so. And there are so many individual stories of quiet heroism, and I know you've showcased those as well. And now is a difficult time to be serving. I'll be totally frank. I will continue to do so, and all of the people that I know who are committed to doing so are as committed as we ever were. And it's a hard time. So I think I'm looking to the community and to the elder veterans in our community to really look out for those of us who are still in, and it looks a little different now. Everyone's a volunteer. Everyone's going through immense change, and that can take its toll in many ways, and we know about the impact that service can have on people's mental health, and I'm seeing that amongst my peers right now. So our presentation later today is going to focus on some of the veteran services that the county offers free of charge to people in our community, and also the services that Nation's Finest provides in the mental health realm. So thank you for telling those stories, and thank you, each of you, for your service and for continuing to find ways to volunteer and serve your peers and one another, and those coming out, with some needs in our community in the future. So thank you.
Okay. With that, I'll take a motion to, to advance this proclamation.
I'll make a motion to receive and file.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right. With that, do we have unanimous consent? If there's no objection to unanimous consent, the vote is 5-0. Thank you, Scott, and thank you, everybody. Appreciate you. And we have more on this subject coming up in just a minute here. All right, so that leaves us to item D10, which is the adoption of the ordinance amending sections 817-1-5 and -14 of the Humboldt County Code, Title 8, Division 1, Chapter 7. Take it away, Scott.
Scott?
No. Wait. What am I saying?
I don't know what you're saying.
What, I mean, okay, we'll just move from there.
I pulled this item
Okay.
just to be consistent. I'm going to be voting no. I don't need a staff report. If you want to go to public comment, I'll come back. We can get
Okay.
a motion. So
Let's
forth
do
and
that.
so on.
So this was pulled from consent because it requires a 4/5 vote, and Supervisor Bushnell is expressing her, it doesn't. Just majority.
Consent required a 4/5. This one requires a majority, but
Okay.
as you know, it was a split vote last week, and so
Yeah,
that is why it's
I
being.
apologize for being a little confused. I'm gonna blame it on daylight savings time, but also this is I will say it is a little awkward because we have 3/5 votes that happen often on ordinances, and they do come back for the second reading. It is not normal for us to pull them because these are it's mostly procedural. So at this time, we have pulled it because there's still objection to what is procedural. So with that, I guess what we'll do is I'll move to public comment online, and we'll go from there.
Thank you. Caller 7718, I will unmute you and you'll have 3 minutes.
Hello, yeah, the prompt took quite a while there to get me to unmute. That wasn't on my end. Appreciate this being pulled. This seems to be a rather contentious item. We have another topic in here related to that later in the meeting in some way, shape, or form. Personally, I'm not in favor of smoking, and so am pleased in a way that we're not enabling that to happen in many ways. But I do understand the other viewpoint regarding the business thing. It might have been more proper. I don't think it's what happened. I'm not absolutely sure that some people were given a one-time chance to liquidate. There seems to have been testimony from the dais and other people that notification in this process wasn't handled correctly as far as the procedure that made up this particular ordinance, and there were complaints regarding that. Hopefully the people who are in charge of putting these kind of ordinances will actually do the reaching out to people that they say they're doing, so everybody can be informed and be on board as far as these things. So I think there's a policy and procedure that needs to be greatly improved. I was kind of led to the impression that there was just about a stall going on in DHHS to bring this forward, to block the people from having a process, and it's put them, I think, brought forward you may be facing litigation on this. So we shall see how that all plays out. Thank you for my opportunity to speak on this particular pulled item.
Thank you. Caller 3053, I will unmute you and you will have 3 minutes.
Good morning, Tom Holder here. I just want to confirm you can hear me. I heard the other speaker had challenges.
Yes.
Okay. Hey, I just want to support Supervisor Bushnell in pulling this. Hey, if you don't agree in something, I don't care if it's second reading, third reading, fourth reading. You don't agree with it and it's on consent, pull it. Those other ones continue to pull stuff and disagree to things. It's also procedural to gavel down people clapping public comment that may deter others from speaking. So when we talk about procedural in this, let's put a mirror in our own face. Thank you for the opportunity to speak.
That's all, Chair.
All right, is there anyone in the room that wants to speak to this item? Seeing none, I'm bringing it back to the board. Do we have a motion to proceed with this adoption of the ordinance?
So moved.
All right,
Second.
there is a motion and a second. Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Yes. Supervisor Bone? Supervisor Arroyo?
Yes.
Supervisor Madrone?
Yes.
Supervisor Bushnell?
No.
Chair Wilson?
Yes.
Motion carries 3-2.
Okay. It is now 9:30, so we are going to move to, yep, we're getting there. Public comment on non-agenda items. Let's start online.
Thank you. Caller 7718, I will unmute you and you will have 3 minutes.
Ken Swatsky, I know we're talking about the Veterans Day, but it hasn't specifically been addressed. I was hoping, and maybe I missed it at a meeting, I was hoping to hear as far as final completion of the Garberville Veterans Project and building down there. I'm curious where that stands. I did wish to let some of you know some math that I did, but some people have kind of validated where the county's going to be going on many things. According to an article out there, and I can't remember, it was in either Lost Coast or Red Hat, I believe, that we're down to roughly around 14% as far as our tax revenue going back to, I think it was 21 or 22, 14% less. And that doesn't build into the factor that you're able to buy inflation during the numbers I could pull up with 25% during that time period. And I know some things have gone up quite a bit more and some things less, but on the average, that means that the counties that's relying upon general fund generated by sales tax have an actual buying power of approximately, I think it's 39% less. And so you wonder why you're going to be sitting here in these chairs, downsizing your departments, forced layoffs, and some major changes have to happen by this board. And part of the ratings, people really don't want, some of you are running unopposed, the people are running opposed. People don't want to sit in the chairs. We need people in who have a skill set to rebuild an economy. I'm not sure that some of those during the next 4 years will have that ability to rebuild and create an economy. It's really nice to put in a little trails and little things, convert city streets to something else. I'm not sure that's a feel-good thing, but it comes down to hardcore, someone able to develop an economy here in Blue Lake, not Blue Lake, in the county. So I want you to understand, some of you to understand, please check those figures. I checked them with a few people. They agreed with those particular figures, and that's kind of a doom and gloom forecast as far as the economy goes. And I think we have an audit coming up a little bit later that with some of these more things can be discussed at that time. Thank you for the opportunity to speak on this particular topic.
Thank you. Caller 3053, I will unmute you and you will have 3 minutes.
Good morning again, Thomas Mulder here. I just want to confirm you can hear me there in the chambers.
Yes.
Thank you. I would just, a couple of things. I think first off, I emailed the board and I'm really, really disappointed. That's the first word I can say. Like, I read those comments, really disappointed because I feel, and I could be wrong, that the county has been exposed to potential litigation for slander, and other comments made towards other governmental agencies and department heads and a whole department within our county. I believe as chair, you have the right to gavel people down and remind them they can be held liable for those comments. So I'm really, really frustrated as a taxpayer. I know we're in a crumbling economy. We don't have a lot of money. We don't have a lot of money to do investigations and stuff like that. It costs, 20 grand for every investigation. I personally feel, and I don't mean this any rudely, I've had a bunch of trainings myself as being a chair. I think there needs to be some training for chair, because I would wonder, is it better? And neither one's good, but there are supervisors that have been sustained of making comments to staff or making staff feel threatened in a private setting environment. Or is it worse to completely publicly embarrass your staff members and have them not supported by staff, not supported by the board, sorry. More importantly, I believe the chair. And the other 4 of you that aren't chair, I want to remind you, you do have the right, under the Brown Act, point of order, when the chair isn't properly maintaining the meeting or, holding order, you have the right to stop them. Everyone's allowed their constitutional right to speak, but you can be held liable. You can't make accusations that aren't true. You can be held liable. I went to multiple years of training, spent 13 years on the school board, went to lots of training. So I would recommend that maybe, one of those things you have on the agenda later, you might actually want that as an agenda item for your chair if you feel that it was egregious enough. I mean, it's public, there's recordings. I watched some of the recordings and I got sick to my stomach today. I was like, wow, allowing clapping during public comment to deter others that may disagree with their viewpoint. Not gaveled down? Wow. Talk about rainbows and butterflies or something like that. And then not gaveling someone down whenever they're making false accusations and reminding them they can be held liable for their comments and kind of making an offhanded, hey, let's not make attacks. Like, I'm really offended as a citizen of Humboldt County and a taxpayer. I'm disgusted, and it's really unfortunate. I'm thankful for the ability to sustainably manage.
Sorry, your time has ran out. That's all on Zoom, Chair.
All right, we're taking it into the room. This is public comment on non-agenda items.
I'm here because I'm a little confused. Everybody I talk to, the news that I look at on the online newspapers, all seems to suggest everybody's telling me, man, I'm so sorry about what happened to Yeehaw, that commune in Trinidad, and I go there and it's still functioning, and there's still people there, and now there's no eyes on it. I'm just like, wait a minute. Did we just declare victory at the county board and just try and sweep it under the rug? And it also bothers me because they were gone after in the first place, when right next door to them, there's a giant quarry. And I actually have a little rock sample. I don't have it with me, but it appears to be actinolite. I think somebody should probably test it, because that would be an asbestos analog, and we've been told time and time again that they were avoiding those areas. And so it's just really, I think we need to work to restore faith, the people's faith in the government, and I think we can do that here in the local government, but we have to make a commitment to prioritize people over property and over corporate influence, corporate money. We need to prioritize the poor, the locals, the natives. And it's things like even debating having a data center put in Arcata, or having an Amazon warehouse put in McKinleyville. It's so blatantly obvious that any plans to try and bring money into the county are just corporate based, that completely cut out any ordinary people from the situation, and do not take into account what the UROC and what the WIOT and what the other, what the HOOPA, what they all want and what they all say time and time again. And so we can keep giving land acknowledgements and keep acknowledging that we care so much about these groups of people and these socioeconomic classes, but ultimately it's just time and time again we're shown that we have no reason to have faith in this board. And I really, I think we can do better. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the room that wants to speak to non-agenda items? Please come up to the microphone.
Good morning. I was here a week ago.
Please feel free to pull the microphone down. There you go.
I'm Linda Sutton, and I'm a resident in Lower Redway. I am preoccupied with the commercial logging that went on in January. And after I left this meeting, during this last week, I gathered my paperwork together and was astonished to see that this whole situation started back in 1978. That's a good chunk of my life in spending time trying to work for something that will be in effect for a very long time, that will survive and that will benefit the old growth redwoods. I was really shocked. 1978. Wow. And I just look forward to continuing to work on this. We're going to be meeting with Michelle this Friday, and also any opportunity to keep the board apprised of what is going on and keeping everything transparent. Really appreciate your time and effort. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Is there anyone else that has items not on our agenda?
Good morning again. My name is still Sue Maloney, and I still live in Redway. And like Linda, we're pretty committed to this issue. I wasn't involved with it since 1978, like she has been, but I've been pretty involved since the early 2000s, late 90s, and looking also at the plethora of papers regarding the history of what's gone on through the different iterations and revisions. And for some in the audience who might not know, we have a situation in Lower Redway where there's a very residential area, and there's massive old growth trees. It's never been logged. They're old growth.
Please speak to the board.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Other people got to turn around, but it's all good. So we're very upset about that. They got logged, and we think it was illegal logging because there's regulations on the books that say it's called the Q zone, otherwise known as Ordinance 2112. And I want to encourage and inspire you all to just simply honor the work that your predecessors on this board did. The heavy lifting has already been done. The ordinance already exists. I was late in the early 2000s, I was working on a lot of state legislation for an initiative that we were trying to qualify for a statewide ballot. That didn't happen. It was all volunteers. Then in the state legislature, we had a bill that Don Parada from Oakland carried. So we had the issue of having a blank slate and having to start from with nothing, and we didn't pass. We weren't successful in passing it. But this legislation already exists, so I just really encourage you to just enforce it and to be the heroes that we want you to be on this issue, and instead of having to come here and saying, "Why won't you please do this?" I'm going to read for a quick second some of the comments from a senior planner at the time that this went through, Michael Richardson. He explained that this project started in 1993, where a person proposed cutting some trees down in the Lower Redway area that is presently protected under the Lower Redway Qualified or Q Zone Ordinance. The applicant contested that protection and your commission agreed, and it was appealed to the Board of Supes, and his proposal was denied. As a result, a group of concerned residents in the Lower Redway area proposed changes to the ordinance. The first set of proposed changes were to beef up the enforcement provisions. Someone who knowingly and willingly violated the ordinance to cut down the protected old growth redwoods would severely have to pay for their illegal activity. So we look forward to this not happening again in the future, and Linda and I will be here to update you and say hello, and we really like to talk about this, so have a great day. Thank you so much.
Hello, my name is Katie Von Kelso, and I live in Eureka. I was born in the Garberville Hospital, and I just would like to speak to how our old growth trees are a treasure, and they are a world-class attraction, and they bring a lot of beauty to our individual lives and to all over the world. And I want to encourage this board to do whatever you can to protect them. Thank you.
It'd be great if there's any more folks to line up.
Hey, good morning, everybody. My name is Jason Wilson. I live in McKinleyville. I was one of the people that was there on the day that David Gypsy Chain was killed. I don't know if some of you might remember that, in late '98. It was actually my first day in the woods with Earth First. I had just gotten here. I'd only been in Humboldt for a matter of weeks, so that was kind of how I got introduced to the movement. It was a pretty rough induction. But I also was one of the people that ran supplies for Julia Butterfly Hill the last year that she was in the tree, and got to be there when her feet touched the ground for the first time in 2 years and 8 days. And I was just really moved by the people that were giving so much for these old growth trees. I'd never seen anything like it, coming from Missouri. People weren't doing that kind of stuff there. And I was just really moved by the amount of sacrifice that people were willing to endure to help save these old growth redwoods. And I was involved for about 10 years, went through a whole bunch of stuff, got arrested and all that stuff, and spent 30 days up in a redwood tree out on Highway 36, and got to experience that. But when we were protesting, a lot of times people would drive by and be like, "Get a job," and that's what I did. So for the last 20 years, I've just been a working stiff. I haven't really been involved in any kind of activism and stuff. But what happened in Redway kind of called me out. Kind of felt like I needed to come and say something and kind of share some of my experiences. So I wish I was up here appealing for the trees to not be cut down. Unfortunately, that's already happened. So I guess the best thing we can do from here is to hope that it cannot happen again. I know back in the day, there was a common sentiment that the regulatory agencies were failing. We're failing the people, we're failing the forest. And I think that's, from what I've been hearing, the public comments, it seems like that's what people are feeling again. That somehow there was some kind of loophole that allowed these trees to be cut down, even though there was this ordinance to protect old growth in Redway. And so I would just hope that kind of thing wouldn't happen again, moving into the future. Because that was unfortunately what people were feeling the day that David Gypsy Chain was killed. And it turned out that there were actually road violations that were discovered a few days after he was killed, when it was too late. All right, well, thanks, everybody. It's nice to see everybody. All right, take care.
Thank you. Anyone else want to speak on items not on the agenda? All right, seeing that no one else is here to speak on things not on the agenda, we're going to move on to the next item. And I believe that's from the Auditor Controller. And this is present. Oh, we have a time set in 5 minutes. All right, well, let's take a 5-minute break and we'll take the time set then. Let's do that. Sorry, Michael. I'm thinking you're going to take more than 5 minutes. What time? No, we're out. We're going right now. Yeah. Calling this meeting to order. Let's see here. All right. Is everybody ready for the next item, which is the presentation on the veteran services provided by Nation's Finest and the Humboldt County Veteran Services Office? And brought to you by Supervisor Arroyo. And so I am hoping that there's someone going to be coming up to talk, but first it's going to be Supervisor Arroyo. Take it away.
Thank you. I don't, we could do a little coin toss to decide who goes first, but let's have, sure, let's have Nation's Finest go ahead and go first, and then we'll have our BSO come up. Welcome, nice to see you. So these folks have talked to me about this before, about wanting to present this and, get the word out about a new program and the services that Nation's Finest offers. And we have the chance to serve together on the Behavioral Health Board as well. So thank you for being here today, and take it away.
Thank you all in advance for allowing us time to come and see you. I know you're busy. So I'm Bob Daugherty. This is Shandell Nelson. I'm Veteran Peer Support Specialist, CalVet Health Initiative, Nation's Finest. I wear a couple of hats.
Could you pull the mic just a little bit closer, or stand a little closer to me?
Marine Corps vet, Vietnam era, and I am certified to the state, taking the exams and the trainings and all that to do this work for a peer support specialist. So our veterans, our beloved veterans, have an oath, and we actually sign an oath, and we have a creed. And in the discharge of those duties, we sometimes do things we can't undo, we see things we can't unsee, and we remember things we can't forget in the discharge of those duties. That's going to lead to all kinds of problems with substance use disorders, higher rates of unemployment, higher rates of domestic violence, and 73% higher rate of death by suicide. Shandell here is our program, our outreach specialist, and she's going to talk about a solution that CalVet is going to bring to the table.
Thank you, Bob. Morning. I'm Shandell. As Bob mentioned, I'm an outreach specialist for the CVHI program. So the CVHI program is a 3-year pilot program. We run across Del Norte County, Humboldt County, Mendocino County, and Lake County. And the idea is to help veterans and their immediate family members. So that could be children, adult children, it could be spouses, widows, and we want to get them in with counseling if they're looking for that service. So we could do family, individual, and group therapy for the veteran. For the family, it would be family or individual therapy. And we do have a clinician on site in Eureka for that service. Right now, I know that there is a small wait list. However, we are moving through the wait list very quickly, and everybody does get contacted within 7 days of that referral going through. The requirements for that is that we have to be able to prove that there is a veteran in the home. So we would need a DD-214 or a veteran ID card. The veteran does not have to participate. So if, say, the wife or the children want that service, but the veteran does not, they do not have to participate in order to get that service. The therapy module would be very short term, so we're looking at a 3 to 6 month, and if they wanted a longer term, they would work with the therapist to get referred out for the long term. So the idea is it's supposed to be a short duration, but it's the step to get them that service. And I'll let Bob kind of talk about a little bit more about what Nation's Finest has to offer in regards to peer support, as that is included with this service.
Thank you. So as you know, a couple of years ago, all these providers that are offering services, it was mandated they have peer support. It's evidence-based that it works. And the difference, what you got out there is you got two models. You got the medical model, which is doctors and case managers and everything that goes along with that. And I work in the recovery model. The recovery model is services for the veteran, by the veteran. And it's shown that, you know, it reduces times in hospitals and the services as a whole, is that they're in charge. They're the experts on them. And so what that does is, you know, Chandel and I do a lot of, we're on the streets. You see us out there we're in the encampments to bring people, hopefully, into our services. But if not, you know, we have Nation's Finest. We have a 30-bed transitional housing program. We have 5 for women, 25 for men. And we have case managers, and we work closely with the Veterans Administration to get them hooked up to their benefits and their medical and to address their barriers. We also work to address their employment barriers, and you know the process is to move them along and to their own living spaces, and whether that be low income or, you know, get them income, get them where they need to be back out and being productive members of society. So we have all that there. We also have you know, another guy that does the outreach for our events. We have a couple of fundraisers a year. One of them's coming up, the Game of Throws. I think that's next weekend. And we provide, you know, a valuable service here in the North Coast. We're on the hunt for our vets, get them off the streets, and get them, you know, back into being productive members of society. That's what we do.
Go ahead.
Oh, I do have these handouts that I brought. Would it be okay if I brought them around? Okay, perfect. This one is a veteran peer support flyer. It does have Bob's contact information on it, and I will go ahead and bring that around.
In lieu of a business card, I created that flyer. There's also been a request, and there is a need for community peer support, and I'm in the process of getting that going. We have a location that we can do that in. Our powers that be need to create the flyer for the community, but I'm going to be starting those services here within probably the next month or so, as a place for veterans in the community to meet with other veterans.
Thank you so much. I wanted to ask if your services are available to folks with an other than honorable discharge.
For the CVHI program, the family therapy and group therapy or individual therapy, yes. So discharge status is irrelevant for that program.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Supervisor Bone?
Appreciate you being here and the support you've given in the past before you got involved with this too. I would appreciate that. And you may have said it, where is your funding? Are you government funded, grant funded, donation funded? Because there are so many programs, and sometimes I worry about all these programs, and it sounds like yours is answering a lot of questions to offer that peer support that so many need to do legally now. But are we conflicting with anybody else? I mean, and that's fine. We can never give enough service to our veterans, but.
The CVHI program is a grant. It's a 3-year grant. We're actually in the 2nd year of it. There's been a recognized already need for what we do, for the services we provide. That funding is going to run out through CalVet. We have people already working in Congress to extend this program. We've been assured that our positions are secure so that it can continue. The Nation's Finest is through SSVF, and they do their own fundraising as well. But it's all internal. It's all, I mean, it's not government funded.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you for your time today.
Thank you. I know we have a short presentation from Renee Mavidi as well with our Veteran Services Office for the county.
Yeah, but we're not through our presentation as well.
I think it's going to be two together, and then, well, it was on the agenda that way, so
Yeah, it's on the
from
agenda.
as both and.
Thanks for your help. All right.
Good morning. My name is Renee Mavidi. I'm with the Humboldt County Department of Health and Human Services, Social Services Branch Veteran Service Office. What I brought with you was very timely. It just came out, which was an annual report that I made sure everyone got. It's mostly just for reading and for referencing to know the phone numbers of all the different programs and see what our program does. But in coordination for you today, I was going to help start with information from page 14 and page 15, just to help you guys know a little overview of what our program is. The Veteran Service Office is the front line of California Veterans Support Systems. They are local, trusted, accountable, extraordinarily cost-effective to maximize federal benefits and reduce pressure on public systems and strengthen the communities. Measured solely in compensation and pension awards, CVSO offices generate a strong return on investment, but their true value extends well beyond those figures. CVSO offices help enroll veterans into the health care, reducing the reliance on Medi-Cal. They connect veterans to education and workforce benefits that strengthen California's labor force. They support housing stability, reduce homelessness, assist survivors and retirees, and serve as a trusted navigator for veterans who would otherwise remain disconnected from care and benefits. Each of these actions bring federal dollars into California, which avoids state and county expenditures or both. Most of the most meaningful outcomes are not captured in a standard metrics. A veteran connected to a lifetime of health care, a surviving spouse able to pursue education, a family restored to stability, a long overdue recognition that restores dignity and pride. These outcomes are the direct results of the Veteran Service Office and the experience in advocacy, which is directly what your program, what the board supports. So just to help overview, California Veteran Supports Network is vast, county, tribal, nonprofit, and academic, community partners, and play an essential role, but not in systems naturally coordinated. It is not initiative. It is done through operation through not a single door. So we help them obtain their benefits. We help them learn what's available to them. We help them start and get navigated. So some veterans don't know where to even go, so we tend to be that first spot and help them know what they can learn, what they can obtain, what may be available. The VA, of course, is directed by the president, so we do have changes in leadership quite often, which of course means a lot of changes in the law. So we encourage all veterans to check back every so many years to see what's changed. Like enrollment in the VA health has changed if there was exposure to toxins. So we have a lot of veterans who've been turned away for years, not knowing if they were eligible, and suddenly can be. Because VA health enrollment can be income-based, which can push out most middle-class or higher-level veterans, if not. Just so you can look at for reference later, page 15 helps to show you the cost the county is spending versus the return. So I'm not here to brag on those numbers, but it's also there for you just to help see what's available and what's coming through the pipeline. This is a report that is given to Congress and all those leaders so that they can know what our program does. But I know you guys do because you're the boots on the ground alongside me. So I thank you for your guys' continued support. Is there any questions I may ask? Or you may ask.
Hold on one second. Supervisor Royo, is there anything else before we move to questions from the board?
I just was pleased to see that great return on investment and that, it's so wonderful that we're able to have 3 staff assist people. it's proportionately a rather large number of veterans. I don't know if we have a higher percentage of veterans in our community than in other places, but it seems to be that at a glance.
Well, keep in mind, they have not asked if you're a veteran and through the census for 30 years now. So the only way they can know if you're a veteran is if you're actually adding veteran to your driver's license. Because the feds, according to the feds, only 30% of our veterans in our state access their benefits. So who's the other 70%? How do we find the other 70%? So adding veteran to your driver's license helps bring them into the office where we are given an opportunity to help them know what they may be available for. So our demographics can be completely off.
Wow. I didn't realize that wasn't a census question anymore.
30 years.
Wow. Okay. That's very, very interesting.
All right, do we have any questions from the board? Supervisor Bone.
Well, Renee, this kind of goes out to the importance of something that you all started years ago was Stand Down. And it absolutely amazed me with 50 different organizations. A lot of them are Department of DHHS program is out there in force, open door with their dental and medical van. I'm still amazed the year they gave 232 haircuts away from Frederick and Charles and other people that were involved out there. But the thing is, when you say 30% are doing their benefits, it was somewhat amazing to me as I walked around and listened without being too obtrusive. The veterans, not just the ones that were in need, but I saw California Highway Patrol says, I never knew that was available to me. I could use that. So people that had good retirement benefits and everything else were finding out all the benefits that were available and the lack of understanding by our veterans. So just a little thing like Stand Down makes a huge difference. And then your office is absolutely amazing. I send so many people there. I'm a veteran. I says, if you're a veteran, go to Renee. She'll take care of it. She goes, that's what she does. And that's kind of who you are. So it's what you're known as, taking care of stuff. So
I'm a little bit passionate about that. I think everybody knows.
You think?
This year actually marks 22 years with the program.
You were one of the first people I met 14 whatever years ago and stuff, and your passion has not changed even with, everything in, and it's kind of funny you're here today because I remember how proud your family was, and you said when you got the award from Scott Hammond, which had a huge turnout. So anyway, thanks for all your tentacles out there helping the veterans.
Okay, any more questions from the board? Moving to online for public comment.
There is none.
Great. We're doing in the room for public comment. So
Thank you.
Those folks that have things to say about this is your time.
Thank you. I owe Renee a lot too. She helped me out when I needed help, and boy, she's a great one. Helps thousands of veterans here locally. Today, I just wanted to let you know about a program. The veteran Elks Lodge 652 is started. I was at the clinic and I saw an old guy coming out of a procedure and he was shaking, and I see they brought him out a couple of crackers and peanut butter to get his sugar level down or whatever they did. And I asked them, who supplies that? And they say, well, all of us kind of get together once a month and chip in money, and we buy a little food for our little pantry. And I went and looked at it. It was a disgrace. But they were doing the best they could. So I started a program with the Elks Lodge 652 with our grant writer, Jack Harris. And we got some money. We started a pantry over there. And we stock it twice, 3 times a month. It cost us originally $400 a month. It's up to about a time. And now it's up to about $550 a month, 3 times a month. And I go out and try to get money for it. But we've stocked that pantry, and that our VA Veterans Committee at the Elks donates about $14,000. We raise for local veterans and their projects, and we help the nation's finest when we can, and give all kinds of things locally. And that's something that a lot of people don't know about, is the clinic over there. And so now I'm getting phone calls, will you come pick up food for the VA pantry? It's for the, some of them don't have any money left over after they pay their bills with their stipends. So we give them a little bag with all pop tops, because a lot of them only have microwaves in their rooms, you know. They don't have an oven and or something to cook it in. So we supply them through the clinics. And when I was nominated the #1 veteran in Hawaii and in California, that was my project. And I'm working on it, and I hope we can do it. If it does, it's going to be something big, because we have vetted it here in Eureka, and I'm proud of this, very proud of living here. And it's a great community, and we got a lot of good people helping. And I just wanted to let you all know there is bright things happening in our local support groups. And Rex, I remember when you came down and saved the day and cooked hamburgers at the stand down, remember? Yeah, you saved the day. So God bless you all again, and thank you. Was there any questions?
No.
All right, God bless.
All right, thank you. Thanks for reminding us of the bright things. It's very inspiring. All right, I'm going to bring it back to the board if there's any questions. Otherwise, I will just say, as someone who's born in a VA hospital, I'm proud of the services that are provided here. Two things I did learn. One was that folks, veterans, in terms of the change of policy and programs, that's a constant, and they'll always be checking in. I think that's pretty important. And I also, news to me that it's not a census question. And it seems like it really should be. With that, do we have a motion to receive and file this report?
So moved.
Second, and I do want to thank everybody for the presentation today, and Natalie for bringing it. And these handouts are really great, and this one especially, yours too, but this one is very informative, so thank you.
Quick comment? Yes, sir. Supervisor Madrone.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I really appreciate all the recognition and programs to assist and all of that. My father was in the Marine Corps, and I still have his foot locker as a place to keep some of my tools and stuff. So it's a great memory for me for his service.
All right. Is there any objection to unanimous consent? Seeing none. We do have a time set for 10:30, so give us a couple of minutes and we'll get that one started. You have 3 minutes. Sorry, Michael. Nice shirt, by the way. So I can't wait to see. Ready? Awesome. Everybody else? Okay, here we go. This is our 10:30 time set. This is for a presentation from Valeria Aviation Consulting regarding the economic activity analysis for California Redwood Coast Humboldt County Airport, otherwise known as ACV. Take it away.
Good morning, board. As an introduction to this presentation, just a little bit of scene setting on how we got here. In November of 2024, your board approved a professional services agreement with Valeria Aviation Consulting to provide air service consulting services. Included in that was an option to do an economic impact report for ACV. Around the same time, the Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy was completed, and ACV was identified as an underutilized economic driver. Because of this, we went forward with the economic impact analysis. We have Jack Penning of Valair Aviation Consulting Services here today to present to you on the economic importance of the airport, as well as acknowledging our recent successes at the airport, and then providing some insight into future opportunities. Welcome, Jack.
Thank you very much, and thank you for having me. I think most of you have seen me speak here before. It's a pleasure to be back. Thanks for the opportunity. We want to be able to talk about some of the wins. This is very, very positive. The narrative has completely changed, I feel, about the airport system, and the improvements over the last decade have been noticeable, and we have some very exciting improvements starting tomorrow. So with that, we want to talk about essentially how the airport is delivering for Humboldt County. With that in mind, my firm, there are 10 of us, we have been your firm of record for almost a decade. I've worked with 2 different firms in this airport system for longer than that. We've had many long-term projects that are just coming to fruition over the next month, actually. So what I want to walk through is our upcoming service launches. We have 3 of them in the next month, which is unheard of for an airport of our size. Record passengers and room for even more growth. We'll talk about it, the economic impact of the airport, which we've completed that report, and it's very significant, not only in how the economy flows to the airport, but in the tax revenue the airport delivers for the state and for the county. And we'll talk about the future, what we believe are the opportunities still available in terms of air service development for the airport. So with that, those 2 aircraft, that's what we're delivering for the community here in the next month. We have seen a 38% growth in seats. Tomorrow will be our first flight on Breeze Airways, a new airline to the community. That will be nonstop to Las Vegas, leaving just before 3 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. The day after that, we will have our new service to Burbank departing, also on Breeze Airways. That's operated 3 times per week, Vegas 2 times per week. And then on April 8th, we have daily service to Seattle and the return of Alaska Airlines for the first time in more than 15 years to ACV. That project started 9 years ago, that recruitment for this specific service. We won a small community grant from the federal government almost 4 years ago, and we were finally able to convert that to everyday service linking us around the world on the Alaska network. So if you look at our current service, we have 42 departures per week on United, service to San Francisco, Los Angeles, and Denver. Of course, the Los Angeles and Denver were recruited as well during the period that we've been working with the community. And then we'll be adding another 12 departures per week. We'll have 54 departures per week to all of the airports you see there, connecting us to the entire world. The significant increase in seats is a little scary because we've got to fill them. But our demand in this market is strong enough that these airlines believed when we delivered the business case with the help of the county, with the community, that they could support the service that we're going to see. This is where you can fly with 1 stop from ACV. We have 239 cities that you can connect to with a 2-hour connection at our hub cities all over the world. A single stop. This is the best connectivity our community has ever had by a very, very wide margin. It improves every day, too, because Alaska is growing the Seattle hub, which we now have access to, and United continues to grow San Francisco and Denver. So this connectivity is what drives economic development. We can have investments from around the world, and people can get here in a very, very short period of time. We're setting new records. The most recent vetted data that we have is for third quarter, year-ended third quarter of last year, and we had 273,000 passengers use our airport. We average essentially almost 400 people a day get on planes at our airport, 400 a day. That number will go up to nearly 600 a day with our new service. That's incredible with the airport of our size. We're up 80% from 2019, the baseline before the pandemic. 80% growth. That's huge. That does not happen. We're one of the fastest growing small community airports in the country. In 2019, we retained only 23% of the passengers in Humboldt County. Just 23% used our airport. Now 41% use our airport. That still means almost 60% drive to another airport. That's where the opportunity is. So our new service will retain some of those passengers, but there's room for additional growth. If you look at our current service, we could support an additional 11 departures a day if we retained the entire group of passengers that are available to us. 11 more departures a day. So let's talk about the economic impact of this service and of the airport. We looked at not just the air service, but all of the services that are on the airport. We looked at employment. We looked at everything that those employees spend as they go throughout the community, and then the visitors who come to our community. There are 121 people right now that are employed at ACV. That number will go up to near 150 with the addition of Breeze and Alaska. They'll be employing in the neighborhood of 30 full-time equivalent employees. So when we get those two airlines, there's significant employment impact. The payroll for those jobs is about $7 million a year, and the average income of an employee at the airport is almost $58,000 a year, which may be a little higher probably than you think, because, and it's higher than what we see in other communities. When we do a similar, we did a similar study recently in Champaign, Illinois, similar size community, maybe slightly larger, and the average income was about $40,000 on airport. So we have these are good paying, solid jobs that the airport provides to the community. The airport brings in an average of 370 visitors a day to our community. More in the summer, fewer in the winter. But if you look at it over the course of a year, 135,000 people arrive to go see the redwoods, to see the coast, to see this part of California at our airport every single year, 135,000. They spend $51 million in Humboldt County. This is just Humboldt County. $51 million in spending. That supports 585 jobs in the tourism industry in our community. Obviously, we have an outsized tourism impact because so many people want to come see this place. And more people want to come here than ever before because the pandemic really showed people that if they stay and fly domestic, there's a lot more to see that they've overlooked. We're not getting overlooked quite as much anymore, and we have huge impact from those visitors. We are 1.3% of the entire economy of this county, the airport. 1.3%. And that's still underutilized, to be honest. But without the airport, essentially, 1/100th of the economy just disappears overnight. And about 750 jobs. 784 jobs are dependent upon the airport being there. That would make the airport a top 10 employer in Humboldt County. So if all the individual companies that employ people at our singular airport were just one company, we would be a top 10 employer. That's how important the airport is to the economy of Humboldt County. The airport generates almost $12 million in federal tax revenue every single year, $5.6 million additional to the state of California and to Humboldt County. Every dollar that the county invests into the airport, it's getting significant return on investment. If you look at both tourism and the additional tourists and the additional property tax and other revenue that comes from the employees who work at airport-related businesses, we get $77 in return for every dollar that is invested into the airport. $77 in return. So what's the future of the airport? Airlines are growing. We've seen it. We are the beneficiary of those airlines growing. For example, Alaska Airlines has 110 new planes on order. They have already asked us what it looks like for them to expand in our market beyond their single daily flight. They have a lot of planes coming. They need places to put those aircraft, and we make money for the airlines. Breeze has another 48 planes on order after the ones they took delivery of to add service to our community. There are significant network changes on the way and significant opportunity. Isolated, strong regional economies tend to get more capacity. We are perfectly placed for additional flights. We have a lot of long-term goals when it comes to air service. The first thing we want to do is support the 3 routes that are launching in the next month. That's going to take some time, but the conversations with the airlines never end. That's one thing that has been completely consistent over the last decade, is that the county has given us and our partners the resources to ensure that we can continue pushing our business cases to these carriers consistently with the same message for a very long time. That has led to the service that we have now, and these are our opportunities moving forward with the carriers that we have and with potentially new carriers. We need our service to perform well, but long-term, these routes are legitimate routes that can be supported with the traffic that we have available. So with that in mind, I want to keep it short and sweet. I know you have a lot to do. Obviously happy to take questions, but I'm also happy to be here with this kind of message. I was in a community 2 weeks ago that has a very different message. They've lost all of their air service. And those are very difficult conversations. This conversation, with the momentum that we have, is very rare. We need to enjoy it, but we also need to understand that the work isn't done, and we have more opportunity if we can support the service that's coming. So thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Anything else? Nope. All right, first we'll go to, I'm going to do public comment first, and then we'll come to the board, unless the board has any specific questions. All right, public comment.
Not questions.
All right, so we'll do public comment. Anything online?
Yes, thank you. Caller 7718, I will unmute you, and you will have 3 minutes.
Well, we're getting some more flights. I hope they work out. I just deal with connectivity, and I think a lot of people do, between SFO or LAX. And with only one primary carrier, United, going there, they kind of have it, pretty well in their pocket. And that's, I just went ahead and checked something like if you were to fly out to one of them tomorrow, it would be like $1,000 for your round-trip flight to come back 2 days later. I guess this is a tendency of the
Thank you.
It looks like either you dropped off or we lost signal. Either way, that is one of the perils of calling in.
my back, I got dropped off by you folks. Am I back?
Okay. Proceed.
Okay. I will proceed. Yeah, they unmuted me. I mean, they muted me. So basically, the rates we pay for our flying out of here last minute are horrendous. You have to book well in advance. I think we really need a competing airline. When we had an American airline in here for a very short time period, flying to their hubs, I noticed the rates dropped drastically, about 20% just about instantly. And until we get another major airline going to some of the major hubs that we would normally use to go national and international, we're not really competitive out there, and that needs to be expected. The other thing we have is, I think you're painfully aware, we can't keep anybody to run that facility. And there's obviously some reasons for that, and I'm not sure exactly what they were, but it sure be nice to have exit strategy interviews from the past 3 people or 4 people in the last few years that have been in that position, and until we get that solidified as far as continuity and somebody in their long-term fix things. So something's broken there. Take a settlement, circumstantial evidence, and it really needs to be worked on. The flight schedule is not all that ideal as far as coming and going. One-way flights to these hubs are not always the most beneficial scheduling that can be happening. And we're obviously small. We don't get priority. It should be nice to get another major airline that would go to some major hubs. Thank you for my opportunity to speak.
That is all on Zoom, Chair.
All right, we're taking it in-house. Is there any public comment on this item from folks in the room?
Good morning, Greg Foster, Redwood Region Economic Development Commission, and thank you, Jack and Peggy, for that report. It's great to see that over 20 years of work in air service development is paying off. And I want to thank the county for being a partner with REDEC up until 2022 on that project. And we got a lot of support, or good collaboration. We want to give a shout out to the Convention and Visitors Bureau, as it was known at the time, the Humboldt Lodging Alliance, and a lot of private entities that donated time and money, hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not more, to the work that we were trying to do in terms of getting new airlines in here and new destinations, Southern California and Denver. And I want to note that the last couple recruitments were Los Angeles, where we put up $505,000 in subsidy promises, but only had to pay $37,000 of that. And imagine the surprise of the Headwaters Fund and some of the others when I called them and said, you're getting most of your money back because this has been so successful. Same with Denver. Denver started off great. Had a little interruption there in 2020 with the pandemic, but is doing great. So I just want to say thank you to the community that supported these projects, the strong collaboration that we built from 2004, when we started with the LAX project with the city of Redding. Believe it or not, that was the first one we worked on. And just want to encourage you and the community to keep supporting air service development here, because I think it's really important to the community, to the public, and to the economy, which is, of course, what we do at REDEC. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Greg. Anyone else in the room? Seeing none, I'm going to bring it back to the board. Oh, did you want to say something? All right, come on up. If there's anyone else, please stand up and get in line. Thanks.
Brian Morrison from Ferndale. We've had a number of airlines come up here and stay as long as the grant was available. So you mentioned that there's a grant that's going to bring several other airlines up here. How long is that going to last?
Yeah, we don't do questions and answers here. If you want to.
Okay, well, I think that's an important question for you folks to ask, is just how long that'll last, because it's, we want these airlines to come here and fly here and be here, so not come and go. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, bringing it back to the board. Supervisor Madrone.
Well, thanks for the report, and McKinleyville is on the verge of some pretty major projects and growth, mostly which I think are really fantastic. And I've spent some time talking with Peggy and her staff about some of these things, but just a couple of little points. One, Cal Poly has an economic study they're doing on McKinleyville right now. So I'm sure Peggy will be providing this report and these results to Josh Sedner and the other professors and students there that are working on this fantastic economic study in McKinleyville. It's this kind of a trifecta happening right now with the Cal Poly study. This adds to that, along with this volunteer group of planners who are helping develop a community outreach program. And we got funding to do the initial feasibility analysis for incorporation in McKinleyville to finally get the data on what that looks like. So really exciting times for this community that is now, in the summertime, the second largest community in Humboldt County, still unincorporated, but that will probably change over time. Also, there's been some talk, and Peggy was in on this, and Supervisor Arroyo, on creating a new entrance when you get off the planes and come in, instead of just that metal turnstile, having maybe like a large, giant, old-growth redwood tree, hollow redwood tree that you come through, which would be quite the talk of the town for visitors when they go home. Oh, we went through this hollow redwood tree, blah, blah, blah. So we talked about that. That was a great little preliminary meeting. Also, the rental car lot is undersized. It already is undersized with what we have happening, let alone with the plans that are on the table. And so with another project that I've also talked with Peggy and her staff about, the Vista Point facility down at the highway is completely dysfunctional. You can't even get into it if you're going north. And we have plans to try and seek funding to do a feasibility analysis to take the county parcel that we own that's vacant right next to the Caltrans facility and make it so you can get into this whether you're going north or south. It's the first place you see the Pacific Ocean after crossing the Golden Gate Bridge. and it's an economic driver like the airport is. So with the plans at the airport and everything else, there's going to be an improved facility over there on the other side of the highway, which is actually airport property, that is going to pull visitors off the highway, going into a visitor center, a small event center, a campground, other things potentially. That's going to add to the overall picture of that development there, along with the airport business park, the town center ordinance that's been passed. So there's this, crescendo of activity happening in McKinleyville that all feeds into each other. And so there was some talk with the Vista Point project that maybe a regional transit hub down by the freeway at Airport Road and Highway 101. And it would be a great place to move the rental lot. There's a lot of room down there on airport property. And you could have a shuttle going back and forth between the rental lot, the transit hub, and the terminal up at the airport. So just kind of long-term visions of other things that might tie in really well with the visions that you share here on the airport. So I just wanted to mention those 4 things because they all really help feed each other in a bigger picture master plan and all that. So really no questions, just kind of wanted to make some comments and keep those things on the horizon as far as opportunities. So thank you.
Supervisor Bone?
Yeah, it was great seeing the report, and it's so funny. I remember 13 years ago when we renamed the airport, because there's no airport in California that has redwoods, which is, I guess, the #1 Googled thing in California, and Humboldt and the coast. Everybody raised hell. 13 years later, it hasn't been an issue. It's still just plain old ACV. So we haven't confused people. So I'd like to think maybe that helps a little bit with people that are thinking those 137,000 visitors. There's a lot of, I like the idea, the stump idea, but I think you better put a full tree. Don't put a stump. That might look bad for the people to walk through. But I like the idea. It's kind of the same venture we're doing at the Capitol, trying to change our viewpoint to at the Capitol, at the displays, the county displays. But that may be something we want to talk to the Lodging Alliance about. They would probably love something like that, and we have great fabricators here that could probably do that. I think one of them made the baseball glove down there at Pac Bell Candlestick, sorry. I'm aging myself. Kezar, no. But anyway, they could probably build a tree for them to walk through that would weather our weather up here. So these are all good things. The report's great. Glad to see the airport's doing good. Sadly, the other night, a week ago, I had to drive home at 11 o'clock at night. But it had nothing to do with our airport fog, et cetera, or anything else. It was United screwed up. So it was a nice drive, lovely drive through our neighboring counties. But anyway, thanks for the report. Good stuff. Airport's doing well. The parking lot improvements are beyond, and good local company did it. And they threw in some add-ons that were not normally involved, but it has worked very, very well for all the parties involved with the new addition. I think we had 138 more. I'm doing the numbers that counted, and it kind of covers the raise in people that are coming. So, and from what I understand, there's no more ants.
Supervisor Arroyo.
Thank you. This is all really good news, and also sets the stage for us to do some important work in the next year and coming years. I really appreciate that there's so much interest in the airport. I know that a lot of the folks in the room came out to talk about this item and perhaps another item on the agenda. And you know, I've noticed that the economics of flying out of our airport are just a little bit more desirable now than perhaps they once were. And some of it is the changing public perception. And I want to lean into that for a moment because I think it's incredibly important that locals talk to one another about the benefits of flying out of our airport, and that it's, you know, our on-time performance, our landing, you know, timing has improved. A lot of those metrics have improved, and the cost is pretty competitive now. So I think that's influencing a lot of those choices. And I know we have a lot of challenges ahead. It's been a little rocky lately, and you know, we're managing a pretty spread out airport system in addition to ACV, and have a lot of investments needed and just limited capital. So that's the reality of what we're working with. But I'd like to encourage those who really care deeply about seeing this continued progress to where possible, criticize privately and praise publicly. I know that's always easier said than done, and it's important that government hear the opinions of people in our community, and we really need that like good messaging to continue supporting the use of our airport so we can have nice things. So I know that's always kind of a fine balance to walk, and I appreciate that that there is so much engagement from the community. I did want to turn around and ask the question that one of the public commenters asked about what happens over time with these funds that we receive to help guarantee service. How does that transition to whatever's after it?
Contrary to popular belief, we've never lost an airline that we used a revenue guarantee or a route where we've used an incentive. We never have. When Avello left our market, they closed the Burbank base and moved all the planes to the East Coast. That did not have an incentive. Alaska back 20 years ago had no incentive. We used incentives for Denver and Los Angeles, and those routes are flying today. They did not use the entire incentive, either one, and both are highly successful. We have a federal grant for Seattle. We fully expect the exact same experience we had on Los Angeles and Denver. That will be permanent. There is no grant to support either of the Breeze routes. Those are not supported. So that is Breeze's risk. They will operate at their own risk. As long as we fill the planes, we won't have an issue. So I'm not concerned about using this. We took a look back at communities that use the exact same incentive since 2019, and 88% of the routes are still operating. That's a very large group. Very common, and we have a history of support.
Thank you, Jack. I really appreciate it. And I want to thank you for all your work with us over the years. I know I always hear your name as like, oh, this one, knowledgeable person who's been on our side for so long. So thank you. And I also really just want to take this opportunity to thank some of the unsung heroes behind the scenes, economic development, some of our CAO staff who are working really hard to help support the airport during this transition time. And Kurt Eicherman, and we've had some directors that have brought some really great things to the table as well. So just really, I know it's been a transition, but I want to shine a light on the people that are working really hard behind the scenes to help steady our ever-changing situation. So thank you.
Supervisor Bushnell.
Thank you. Thank you for the report. I want to concur with what my colleagues said, that I didn't used to fly out of Arcata because I had quite a few times and, delayed this and that. And so it can be a pain. And I have, for the last 4 to 5 years, flown out of there and seen a really great improvement and an improvement in flights coming in and going out. Even when I thought, oh my gosh, we're not going to land, it's going to be, we're going to have to go somewhere else. So I really want to encourage the public to take advantage of that. Also, when I talk with community members, they talk about, well, we don't have things available here. And it's the same saying, use it or lose it. And so we really need to utilize our own things that we have here and to encourage people to come in and driving to Santa Rosa doesn't really get you that much more. And it's, just try it again. That's what I would say, because that's what I did. I was like, okay, I'm going to try this again and see if it works. And it has so far. And so I improve, or I am greatly happy with the added flights and the added destination areas. I do want to say that, I hear the public about, the airport has had a lot of transition, and we're on the hunt again. No fault of anybody's, I can say that, and we're hopeful to have just as great of a new person come in as Justin has been, and it's not anybody's fault. It's not. There's no negativity around that, if I can just say that. And I'm super happy to have all the added stuff that's coming in. The redwood tree, it's a great idea. I've thought of that before too, and thinking that turn wheel thing is not very attractive. Something much better could go there. So I appreciate the updates, and I'm hopeful that we won't have, breeze come in and breeze go out, and that's not also very helpful, but I'm hoping this one will stay and stick. So thank you.
Supervisor Arroyo.
I imagine that when news coverage happens of this, people are going to be like, oh, talking about this idea of the entrance to the airport because it's something new and different. I did just want to thank Supervisor Madrone for being part of those conversations. And we did talk to our previous, our interim director a few months ago about this, and with a prospective funder or partner about just concepts of how to beautify the area where people disembark. And so I think we're sort of waiting for things to settle out just a little bit to pick those conversations back up. So I just wanted to assure the rest of the board, if we have the opportunity to bring something else forward to get more ideas around that or advance that concept further, we'll certainly bring it back here. We just wanted to do some due diligence first and understand what's possible there. And there's lots of other priorities too, so we're kind of weighing all of those together. So I think we'll keep cranking on that when we have the opportunity, hopefully. Does that sound good to you, Supervisor Madrone?
It does. Well, we're famous for the drive-through tree, so why not the walk-through tree, right?
So we'll make sure that we follow the process of bringing something back before we have folks dig into that further.
Supervisor Madrone?
Yeah, and it didn't require any subsidy at all, but we should absolutely thank the weather gods and goddesses because the weather has improved. And I believe that's a huge component in actually having more on-time flights, less cancellations. Of course, it ties into San Francisco as well. But we have absolutely better weather now than we had back in the 70s and 80s, where the fog just completely shut us down so often. It's a lot more rare for that to actually occur. So I want to give great thanks to those that had something to do with that. So.
Supervisor.
I'll take another final bite of the apple. I want to thank Grandpa Hooven for donating the property or making the property available, and really happy that his potato tiller broke, and that's when he decided, literally out in the middle of the field, it was going to cost too much to fix back in 1939 or 40 it was, or anything else. And he says, let's do something else with this. I'm not going to do potatoes anymore. So, I mean, the family business is across the street from the airport, but you got to understand where it stood, and the reason it was there was for airplane maneuvers in foggy territory. And I just heard Supervisor Jones say something good about climate change because it does create less fog. But besides that, I go back to the roots.
All right, everyone.
I'll make a motion to receive and file this report. And thanks again.
Is there a second?
I'll second. Thank you.
I'll close with saying I actually like the turnstile. I think it a little scary, kind of builds character. I like it. I also want to reference the revenue subsidies we've had in the past. We did have one back 2009 where an airline did leave after the subsidy was removed. I think it was Delta. But I want to mention, though, even with that, the subsidy itself more than paid for itself during that time. So it was a net positive to our economy in terms of the revenue generating at the airport, also the economic boost that it brought, but then also the boost in folks coming through the airport allowed us to qualify for grants from the FAA to do improvements to the airport. So I think it was like a 13-to-1 improvement, or excuse me, the 13-to-1 investment. So I think it did really well for us, and I just want to be really clear that these things. I have been very skeptical, like the commenter that came before of these in the past, but when looking into the numbers, I've found that we've done really well under those. And as Mr. Foster mentioned, most of the time we've been returning most of that investment back to folks. So with that, I have a motion and a second. Is there any objection to unanimous consent? Seeing none, I want to thank both of you for being here today. Thank you, Jack. Thank you, Peggy. Great report. And we'll be moving on to the next item. Thanks. Got it. Michael, you're up, finally. You're lurking back there for a while. Anxiously.
I have a job that requires a lot of sitting. It's nice to stand at the back.
There you go. You have 3 microphones there looking pretty good. We'll pick one.
One of those 1990s old podiums that had hundreds of microphones pointing at the person speaking.
Yeah. Turn it on.
Can you hear me on this one?
Yep.
There we go.
Take it away, Michael.
Good morning. Michael Evenson, Interim Auditor Controller. We are here today to present the fiscal year 2023-24 audit reports and financial statements. Before I pass the role over to our audit principal, Brianne Weiss, there's a couple concepts I want to touch on. Primarily that when we get audited, there are two audits that occur simultaneously: the financial statement audit and the single audit. The financial statement audit is the audit of the auditor controller and how the county's internal control environment is established for proper recordation of our financial transactions. The single audit is an audit of programs. The auditor controller does not have much involvement in it. It's about the work performed at the program, making sure they're meeting their requirements under the uniform guidance and other program laws, rules, and regulations as established by the federal government. So I'm stating this because we did get both types of findings in this audit, and I just want to make sure we're clear on the obligations and requirements related to that. With that said, I think it's good to pass it on to our principal from Clifton Larson Allen, Brianne Weiss.
Hello, can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, great. My video is not working, but that's okay, as long as everyone can hear me. I'm just going to reiterate what Michael said, and it's important to know that there's those 2 distinctions of the reports that we'll talk about. I'm going to talk first about the financial statement audit, and then I will go into the single audit, and I'll talk about the findings related to both of those in a summary level. As it relates to the financial statements of the county for the year ended June 30, 2024, were unmodified, which is a clean opinion, with the exception of the discretely presented component unit, which relates to the fire district. And that's been a long-standing issue, and it relates to how the financial statements of the district are done independent of the county. So while Michael outlined that really well, that the financial statement audit is audit of the auditor controller, I would say that the exception to that is actually this fire district that related to the modification. And I do know that Michael is working with the folks there to try to get that resolved in future years. In addition to, I guess as we do our audit, as Michael said, we go through the records and we look at internal controls, and if we identify things, we bring them up and we report them in the financial statements. And as it relates to the county, there was five findings. One of them relates to the fire district, which I previously mentioned, which drove the modification to the opinion there. And then I would say the other 4, if I could combine them into one generalization, would relate to cutoff. And it's both cutoff from an expense standpoint and cutoff from a revenue standpoint, with more of the findings related to the revenue cutoff issues. And what I always like to say when it relates to revenue, and particularly findings related to revenue, GASB has created what I think is one of the most complicated auditing standards related to revenue recognition based on the different types. The rules are very complex, they're very nuanced, and it's almost a situation where no 2 transactions are treated the same based on the nuances in the guidance. So it's not necessarily uncommon to find these issues or to have cutoff issues related to revenue recognition, and the county did have those this year. But what I do want to highlight is that the scope and scale of the findings that we're finding have decreased each year. And while they still are enough to warrant a finding, the severity and the scale of them has decreased over time, which just goes to show that the implementation and the corrective actions that the county has implemented each year has shown improvement. And I expect that trend to continue, and we work very closely with Michael and his team to continue that trend and to continue those improvements, so that overall we can get to a place where hopefully we have no findings in the future related to this. But I don't want to discount that the rules are very complex and they're very difficult to implement. And so that's kind of what I wanted to say there related to the financial statements. I would, of course, before I jump to the single audit, I'll pause to see if there's any specific questions with the financial statements or any clarification needed on the findings.
Anyone from the board? Supervisor Arroyo?
So I do serve on the audit committee, and I wanted to kind of just ask if we can come back to the matter of the audit for, I believe it's a fire department audit that is affecting our audit. I don't know whether that fits in this part of the conversation or the next, but
that would be this part of the conversation.
Okay.
Is the part of our financial statement audit.
Great. So if you have comments on it, or our auditor or contracted auditor has comments on it, I'd love to hear thoughts on that.
I can go into additional detail of why Fortuna Fire Protection District would affect the County of Humboldt's financial statement audit. In the Government Accounting Standards Board, one of their pronouncements states that if the primary government has substantial control, which they define as having majority appointment power over another government's board, then that government must also be included in our financial statements. We have 13 they're called blended component units. They're other governments that get folded into our primary reports, and we have one, that's Fortuna Fire Protection District, that gets its own column on our financial statements. That's called a discretely presented component unit. It's as a result of the fact that your board appoints the entirety of the Fortuna Fire Protection District Board.
Great. And in the audit committee, we discussed how this has been an ongoing finding that has affected our audit every year for some time. And so it results in us having a finding, and that was something we want to try to rectify in the future. Any other thoughts about that? Is there anything we can do about that?
I can present potential ways we could rectify. The first one would be if Fortuna Fire gets their audits turned into us early enough for inclusion in our financial statements and they have no findings on theirs, it would result in no findings on ours. There's of course the decision to continue status quo, an option to do nothing is an option. If Fortuna Fire were to choose to become independently elected, that would remove that requirement, but I have no power or authority over that decision. I'm just here. And then a last Hail Mary option could be to include their audit in our audit and have the county auditor's office track all of their transactions in a manner conducive to that. But those are kind of our four options. I'm not here to present which one I want most. Just those are the options.
Okay, thank you. I think on behalf of the audit committee, I felt that was important to bring forward and highlight. And we don't want this to just go on forever. We need to find some alternative. So I know it sounds like Supervisor Bushnell may have had some communication about this, but thank you for presenting those options.
Supervisor Bushnell.
Thank you. I think Michael's aware. We've had some conversations around this and some emails and updates. It's around one finding with the Fortuna Fire Department, not the Fortuna Fire District, where they house their money differently, and they also do not want to have a finding and are working with their CPA to try to rectify this. They additionally are at this time, pulling most of their money out of, it won't affect the audit. They still are audited through us, but they are looking, or actually in process of going through a different process and not having the county be the payee, I would guess would be the word, for all of their funds. And we would still be a pass-through, but they are struggling to figure out this one audit finding that they've had for several years, and are working diligently to try to rectify it.
All right, nothing more annoying than a persistent finding. Supervisor Bone.
Yeah, and along with Supervisor Bushnell, this has been an issue for 9, 10, 11 years.
I believe the first year that it appeared was 2018.
So it's been quite a while. I know it's been coming up, and they've been working at either getting it to us. I mean, there's a lot of going into it, and I appreciate all the work Supervisor Bushnell is doing on this to get this rectified, and it should be fairly soon. As far as electing their board, they have, like a lot of our fire, but they have a pretty unique board that is very efficient, and a lot like Ferndale and a lot of these volunteer fire departments, they're doing a fabulous job. All of our volunteer fire departments. So I don't know if we want to get in the middle of telling them how to manage their departments.
Okay, I think we need to go to public comment. So, do we have any?
I believe there's a
was this
second
just a break in the report? Okay.
This was, she concluded at the end of the financial statement portion and is going to continue into the single audit portion.
Okay, well then continue, by all means.
Thank you for that, and thank you for the discussion. The single audit, as Michael mentioned, really relates to an audit of the departments. It's an audit of the federal grants that the county receives each year. And during the course of our audit, we select what were deemed major programs. Usually there's a mathematical criteria to do that, and then a rolling 3-year period in which everything over that dollar threshold has to be audited once every 3 years. So after doing that, we identified 4 major programs that we audited in '24. They were the Medicaid program, the Airport Improvement Program, the Home Investment Program, and the Highway Planning and Construction Program. In doing our audit, we identified a finding related to the Airport Improvement Program related to the reports that were done. I think due to some turnover at the department, there were several reports that were missed during the year. So we identified that as a material compliance finding, being that those reports weren't submitted, and a material weakness in internal controls. And I know from discussions with everybody that they're working to get that updated and to make sure that those reports get submitted. We also, in the Medicaid program, identified a finding. It's not as severe. It was 2 instances out of the 60 that we tested in which the redeterminations for eligibility for those participants was not made within the required 12-month period, but ultimately the participants were deemed eligible. And so those 2 items were noted in the single audit finding, but everything else related to the single audit was clean.
Okay. Is that it then?
That is it.
That's all I have, unless
All
there's
right.
any other questions.
Great. All right, back to the board. Is there any questions before I go to public comment? Supervisor Bushnell.
I just want to thank you, Michael, and thank our audit person. I'm sorry, Brian. Thank you. I know that there was, when you came in and your predecessor, there was a lot of stuff to do, and that you've been very diligent, and I hear continuously of how efficient the Auditor Controller's Office is becoming, so I just appreciate that. And, you know, it's a large organization, and ultimately we want no findings, but things, you know, do happen, and so we're working towards improving that through your office. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? I'm going to move to public comment. That's all right.
I think my only thought was just about the continuing, you know, it'd be great to have the matter around the findings, you know, rectified for the, I don't know if it's possible to rectify for the next audit because we're already well underway with that one, but perhaps the year after. So sounds like we're all on the same page about wanting that to happen.
Yeah, I often say audit findings have a 2-year cycle. You get the finding on the year that was concluded. By the time your audit's concluded, you're half to 3/4 of the way through that fiscal year, so there's no way to fix it in that fiscal year. You do your accounting adjustments for the next year to address the issues.
Supervisor Bone.
Yeah, Michael, I want to thank you. Tell you I told you so. You have to understand, 6, 7 years ago, or 5, 6 years ago, whatever it was, we were being told it was going to take us 4 to 6 to 8 years to dig out of the hole we were in, get back in good graces and everything else. And with the diligence that Cheryl Dillingham and Michael put forward and their staff, they have respect through everybody through the county and all the people we do business with, especially vendors, especially our government partners. So it does not have to go undersaid about what you guys have accomplished, both Cheryl and you and your staff. So for me, that lived that to the extent, kudos, thank you.
Thank you. All right, taking it to public comment.
Thank you. Caller 7718, I will unmute you and you will have 3 minutes.
It's lucky here. I agree. The trend is exceptionally good as far as getting our things back on track. A good share of these findings, I think all but 3 were actually to be accomplished for the fiscal year ending June 30, 2025. There's only 3 that I saw here that ended June 30, 2026, which is coming up rather soon. One of the main things is there was never any disagreement with the audit findings, and there was no whining about this, that, and the other, and that's a fantastic thing, Michael. The concern thing here was the findings, in my opinion, regarding the major federal programs. We have one of them, the first one with the FAA to complete past due reports and things. That's supposed to be done a year end June 30, 2026. And the person who's responsible for that is the aviation director. So hopefully that's already done, or somebody in the meantime is going to make sure that one doesn't fall through the cracks. Otherwise, you could be in the position that appears you were in with another one with DHHS, which Connie Beck is to complete the correction on. But it says there were 2 cases were found where the determinations were performed outside the required 12-month window, indicating non-compliance with federal renewal timing requirements. And one of the 2 cases was deemed ineligible during the reevaluation. So my question would be, maybe you folks don't care, but it sounds to me like that, and I probably should have been follow-up with your staff before making comments. Don't always get the chance to do so. But it sounds like we lost some funds, and it's just more than a curiosity thing of what the cost of a mistake like that was. Maybe it's a small amount. Hopefully it won't happen in the future, and I'm trusting Michael to keep his thumb on the people and these necessary things to preclude us from losing financing, because it's a bad strike when you have those things happen against you. And in this day and age, we can't have bad strikes regarding grant funding. So thanks for the opportunity to speak.
All right, anyone in the room that wants to speak to this? All right. Any more comments from the board before we receive and file? And I'll take a motion in that as well.
I'll make a motion to receive and file, but last comment as well is that Fortuna Fire is well aware and is very much wanting to rectify it, and it's something that they've been working towards. And the monies are monies that their Fortuna Fire department raises, like fundraiser money, and so it's been trying how to get around that and figure that out has been difficult. 9 years I know is a long time. They are working on it, and hopeful that this year they'll get it.
All right, we have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Great. Is there any objection to unanimous consent? Seeing none, we're on to the next item. Thanks, Michael. Human Resources. And this is sustained finding of violation of the Board of Supervisors Code of Conduct. And do we have Zach is in the house to help guide us through this? We'll do that.
Good morning, board members. Sorry, I got stopped I was directing traffic in the lobby there. So you have in front of you a sustained finding of a violation of the Board of Supervisors Code of Conduct. I really don't have much to add. You have the information in the staff report and the executive summary, but I'm here for any questions that you might have, and this is the opportunity for Supervisor Bone and your board to discuss this matter.
Okay. Great. All right. I guess bringing it to the board. Does anyone have anything they want to say about this or how we want to move forward? Mr. Bone, do you want to start?
Yeah. Yeah, I want to apologize, first of all, for, well, let me get into this. I've kind of spent some time. I just actually read the report yesterday and then kind of scratched some stuff together. And complaint relates to a meeting that took place approximately 7 months ago. Now, I'm going to go straight to the findings on this because it says it is undisputed that county employees participating in the meeting perceive that Bones scheduled the meeting to influence staff members to take quick action to create a waiver or an amendment to the tobacco retailer's license to ensure that Bones' friend was able to transfer all of his tobacco retail licenses when his friend sold his gas stations. Well, in that meeting, it's been 7 months, so for me to have an idea what was actually said, I'm not disputing some of the facts. The one thing is I didn't call the meeting. This was an ad hoc, and I think it was organized through staff that we could all meet at the same time. I don't call meetings for staff and things like that, percept. So I don't know if that's undisputed. And I mean, for the amount of money we spent, I would have liked to have clarity there. I'm not questioning, you know, what they felt, but I don't think. And then the other thing is, Bones' friend, I'll explain this. This complaint relates to a meeting that took place approximately 7 months ago during a Zoom-based ad hoc committee meeting that I attended with Supervisor Madrone and environmental health staff. During that discussion, we were reviewing the TRL. I initially supported the TRL and continue to support it overall. In fact, I'm quite proud of our fellow supervisors, Supervisor Bushnell and Supervisor Lovelace, for working on the nitrous, flavored cigs, vape on a level through RCRC. I think you gave a letter to RCRC about our nitrous because they're trying to do a state. So I appreciate that. But I had one concern regarding the ability of a private business, large or small, to transfer a license. My hope was that there might be a mechanism for a one-time transfer so that businesses would not be financially harmed by this restriction. The complaint findings suggest that my comments were made in an effort to help a friend. I would like to clarify that several stores were affected by this issue. I mentioned them, including one that had already transferred ownership and only later learned about the limitation. This individual, referenced as a friend, is someone I had not spoken to within more than 20 years. He contacted me because his daughter had 3 stores that were impacted. He had sold his stores to his daughter. I received several calls from community members regarding this project. I understood their concerns and attempted to communicate those concerns to staff during the discussion. My intention was to represent the perspectives I was hearing from members of the community. Having lived in this area for 71 years, I have many long-standing relationships, and I take seriously my responsibility to listen when people reach out with concerns. I also want to clarify, to the best of my knowledge, that I did not direct profanity towards staff or use profanity about them. I did use a swear word in reference to myself. I apologized if I acted like an a-hole during the decision because I felt strongly about the topic at hand, being raised in a corner grocery store. However, I sincerely regret if my tone, delivery, caused anyone to feel uncomfortable or disrespected. I do apologize for that. Finally, I would like to thank Supervisor Madrone for bringing this matter forward to make me aware, and I appreciate the opportunity to reflect on the situation, and I apologize if anything I said or how I said it caused concern or hurt feelings. So I can't deny I did it. This is my second complaint in 14 years. The other one was fully exonerated. This one I didn't participate in because I just didn't. So I'm ready to take my lumps. And again, I apologize to staff. That's not what I meant. I think it was the first time I'd ever met with this staff on an ad hoc, not my meeting, but an ad hoc that was formed by this board. So thank you for your time, and
Okay.
get it.
All right. Do we have any responses or questions from board members before I take it to public comment? Supervisor Madrone.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Supervisor Bone. I appreciate your statement. I appreciate the heartfelt apology. I know that's never an easy thing for any of us. For me, that goes a long way in terms of trying to rectify it. As you know, I had complaints against me as well, and I figured the best thing to do is apologize, so thank you. I know that's not easy. And I appreciate that you said that you appreciated that it really brought it in front of you as a chance to reflect on it, think about it. I think that's a big part of the process of trying to rectify things, so I thank you for that. That's my main comment.
Supervisor Arroyo.
Thank you. When I think about the relationship we have with staff more broadly, I reflect on a couple of years ago, somebody who was working in a consulting capacity with the county and interviewing and working with a lot of department heads, who I won't name, said that a lot of department heads were scared of us. And I really, I wanted to be sure I didn't mishear them. And I asked for elaboration. And this person reiterated that a lot of department heads have fear for themselves and their employees about how they may be treated in small group meetings in particular, but also when they bring things here before us. And I don't want to have that kind of culture within the county. So I guess I think it's incumbent on all of us to try to, and I know we all have an open door policy and we all try to build relationships with staff in our own ways, and I don't know how to address that overarching sense of fear, and I don't think it's probably held by every single person, excuse me, but the fact that it came up through somebody who's doing a lot of interviews with folks is I really took it to heart. So we think of ourselves as having strong, good relationships with a lot of staff, and they may feel scared of the power that we hold within this organization. So I do appreciate the apology. I think it's a step in the right direction, and I also appreciate that it was brought forward, because I don't doubt that there was some staff concern behind that, or feeling, that there was a power imbalance that we all kind of have to be conscious of. So I think I'll leave it at that for now.
All right, I'm going to move this to public comment, and then we'll take it back to the board. Do we have any public comment?
Yes. Caller 3053, I will unmute you and you will have 3 minutes.
Still before afternoon, Thomas Mulder here. I just want to confirm you can hear me there in the chambers.
Yes.
Thank you. I would say the unfortunate part is that this investigation, due to something that I don't know if I heard it correctly, a Zoom meeting, but maybe I misheard that, cost the county over $15,000. So I would ask you to, really hone in on your process so taxpayers aren't, can't think of a politically correct term, so expensed by something that happened. And I'll say, not condoning the actions in a private meeting versus publicly. I don't know, like every time someone has a problem, is it gonna cost the county $15,000? Or are we gonna have a better way to maybe, you know, get a different consulting firm? I don't know if you have long-term contracts. It just seems like a lot of money to investigate something that happened in a meeting. Had 2 supervisors ad hoc meeting. And, you know, just last week, there could be, you know, if you guys bring it forward, it'll cost the county $15,000, but, you know, there could be another sustained finding. So, and that happened in an open public meeting. So I hope you can, I don't know, fix the process, number one. And number two, I appreciate hearing this. There's board members that are saying, hey, I appreciate, you know, saying sorry, but maybe it's different because he's not chair at the time, although he's a better chair than the current chair. So I'll leave it at that. Thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you. Caller 7718, I will unmute you and you will have 3 minutes.
I have to agree with everything that Mr. Mulder just said to you. I hope you listen and take note of this. The only thing is that, if I recall right, there's potentially outstanding bills, and it's $15,000 at this time. We don't know how much the other thing would be. And I totally agree your process needs to be changed. In most processes of this kind of nature, mediation is about the most important thing you can have, where people sit down. If that happened, I think Supervisor Bowen would have had a chance to get clarity. Certain things in this report that were inaccurate regarding friendships. And the way this was basically put out there and played, you know, it could be a finding of things, but it did not sound like it was truthful as far as some of the accusations and the context of what transpired there. That's a big problem for you folks. Again, I will always be against putting your staff members in a position where we bring this. Public perception is that this is what we call a typical, I guess you'd call it Trumpian political move in an attempt possibly to bring things forward at another meeting. If you do decide to censure Supervisor Bowen, bring things to remove him from positions on other boards where he participates in, because certain people would like to have those positions for some reason. I personally don't think they will do well at those rural boards where the people are conservative. I do not think that Supervisor Wilson should be representing us at any of these things, considering he went to state lands and threw the F-bomb at staff there and has done such things to your staff in the past. So when you're living in a glass house, Supervisor Wilson, highly recommend you don't be throwing stones. And that's my input at this time, and I'm sure you probably move ahead with what you're going to do, but you might consider some of the perception of what the public feels you guys look like under these circumstances. Thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you. Caller 2611, I will unmute you and you'll have 3 minutes.
Supervisors, I want to concur with Thomas Mulder and Kent Kowalski. I think they have very valid points on this matter. One part of the process I think that needs to be addressed is a time frame for initiating these complaints. Like Rex had mentioned, 7 months ago, even in Michelle's case, very delinquent time frame there. We really need to have a process that if you're going to make a complaint, it needs to be made within 48 hours, okay? You guys need to address it within 30 days. Pushing this out extreme timelines is really, in my opinion, unprofessional. And it's very unprofessional to not have equity and quality throughout your board. I know there's a lot more people in our community besides myself personally who have felt targeted for projects that are happening in closed doors discussions. For for years now, I've lived literally in stress and fear of what's happening behind my back. And so have my neighbors and other businesses around me. We don't find out about things until it's already in motion, when we should have been communicated with prior. And I do think that runs into a lot of legality issues. We're just polite and are big kids and don't cry and whine about it, and we go to work. But I think it's really, really unfair to be targeting two individuals, because it's becoming apparent to the community that they specifically are being targeted. That is not something that I think is very good for the rest of you. It's just a bad image for you, especially when some of them are the ones I'm talking about that are making the rest of the community or still uneasy. Thank you.
That is all on Zoom.
All right, is there anyone in the room that wants to comment on this? Please come forward.
I just have a quick question. I was here originally for item 26152. Is that already passed? Because that's kind of related to the TRL.
That item was, yes, we discussed that item earlier, yeah.
Can I just make a comment now, or
No.
we just have to?
Yeah, no, we're discussing, we can only discuss items that are on the
Got
agenda
it.
at this moment.
No problem, thank you.
But you're welcome to send us emails or make phone calls. There's other
Okay.
ways that you can communicate with the board, so.
Who would I email? Do you guys? Can I get a business card or something?
Sure.
You can actually go online and all the supervisors are there.
Okay.
Online, it's easy to find. Just Google Humboldt County Supervisors and it'll bring up the email list.
And also, if you just the office is next door, so if you go around outside and then through the door there's someone that can help you.
Okay. Thank you guys.
Yeah.
Have a nice day.
Hey, you too. All right. Anyone else in the room that wants to speak to any of this? All right. I just want to have a couple questions for Zach on this. Just the process. There was a question from the public in terms of the timeline about when complaints are made, and can you reference that in terms of this particular incident? What was the time frame for between when the incident was made and the complaint was filed?
Yeah, sure. So the complaint was filed fairly quickly after the meeting. As far as a timeline on an investigation, that's kind of the million-dollar question that we get a lot. It really relies upon people's availability a lot of times. So that, I think in this case, getting some of the interviews scheduled took some time. And then, frankly, the biggest, I would say, delay in this process had to do with sort of the reason why we came to your board last week and asked for direction related to this code of conduct policy. Staff, including myself, CAO Hayes, and County Council, based on the direction that your board had given to send this to the grand jury, and sort of we consider that to sort of be putting a halt on the process, and so that's why this one didn't move forward as quickly as it would have. And that's why we came back to your board and said, hey, we needed some direction here on what we want to do. So as far as on the front end, there were delays just based on availability, I would say. That's pretty customary in any investigation process. I know we like them to move as quickly as possible, but that can be delayed pretty heavily by not just staff availability, but the investigators' availability and matching that all up. But then this one just had that pretty significant impact of that sort of pause that was put on the process while we were waiting to hear from the grand jury.
Okay, I appreciate that. And without I think breaking any confidentiality, I'm just kind of wondering, did we hear from staff directly on this, and their in terms of the complaints that were made, or in the investigation?
Yeah. So I'll tread lightly for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Certainly, in order to conduct investigation, you're gonna have to talk to the folks who you need to talk to that were present or that were part of whatever happened, and there is going to be a certain level of discretion given to an investigator to determine who they need to talk to. Throughout the process, I know that the matter that was at hand, the TRL in particular, was an ongoing matter. And so I was communicated to by staff of a bit of uncomfortability with continuing with that process, just given this kind of outstanding thing. I think that's probably as much as I'd want to share without
Okay.
going too far down that rabbit hole.
Just a couple comments. I mean, I appreciate the statement that was read by and said by Supervisor Bone. I do take a little issue with criticizing the report when Supervisor Bone chose not to participate in the investigation and actually add or refute within the process. And so it's hard for me to like intellectualize that, or to think about like criticizing a report when you were offered an opportunity to participate in it and chose not to participate in it, and then say that the report is somehow inaccurate. And I think that is something I'm hoping that in the future folks really understand, that I think that's important. And I appreciate the apology that was given, but again, it was about, and what the words that I heard was, I apologize for the hurt feelings. And I think what we're talking about isn't just hurt feelings, but what staff feels is intimidation. That is different than hurt feelings. And I think we're trying to address that within the institution. And I appreciate Supervisor Arroyo's observation. And I think we've all heard, at least I have, from staff within the organization about feeling intimidated by people in power. That's us. And I want to be clear that is really, to me, the core issue that we're talking about. Not hurt feelings, but people feeling intimidated that they can't do their jobs or have to adjust the way that they're supposed to do things based on their fear of retribution or whatever from, and that can be quite abstract. And I think sometimes we just imagine ourselves as just normal, everyday humans. Like, I'm Mike, and I like to fish and play music, and I'm a normal guy. Yeah. But in this context, I'm a county supervisor who's elected, and whether I actually have actual power or whether it's perceived, many employees in the institution, have rightfully a different understanding of this relationship. There is a power dynamic, and I think we can't be cavalier and just in just assuming that doesn't exist with our employees, and we have to be very careful about that and do our best. And sometimes and perfection isn't always the thing that happens, and we have to account for it. And so I just want to be really clear about that. I think that this isn't, again, it's not about hurt feelings, it's about a feeling of intimidation. And I think that is something that we have to digest and understand. And so,
Mike?
Yes, one second, Supervisor Bone, I'll get there. So I want to emphasize that the findings were sustained in this, and so we have some decisions to make here, and I'm going to bring it back to Supervisor Bone, and Supervisor Bone, please, by all means, this is your time.
It was my decision not to participate because, for whatever reason, that's my own feelings. But I do want to say, when the report is written and there is something wrong, like it was not my meeting, that's what I questioned. Also, my apology is as sincere as I can make it, and what I said, I sincerely regret if my tone or delivery caused anyone to feel uncomfortable, nothing about hurt feelings, uncomfortable or disrespected. And I actually looked up the words, and they're pretty all-encompassing. And so I knew that whatever apology I did was going to get picked apart, and I appreciate that. I am very sorry. I am very sorry. But the thing is, I also agreed with the findings. But I wanted, just as in any finding as we do up here, I wanted it to be correct. And what I corrected was, this was not a meeting I called. This was an ad hoc brought forward by this board. I did not call it together. Staff set the times for us, and then we all met. So that's kind of the only thing I said, and the only thing I really found wrong, and the part about the friend. I got lots of friends. I had Humboldt Hill, Myers Flat, a lot of stores infected. But it was in no way to downplay the report. I apologize.
Okay. You both agree with the report and think it requires corrections. I understand. Okay, so the board is being asked to do something here, which is hold on a second, I want to get this straight from the board report here. Consider public censure. First District Supervisor Rex Bone. And if there is a motion to do that, we will consider. Otherwise, we will receive and file this report. Supervisor Bushnell.
I'll just make a motion to receive and file a report.
Do we have a second to receive and file, or do anyone want to amend that moving forward?
I'll second it.
Okay. Is there any more discussion from this board? Supervisor Arroyo.
Sure. I mean, I think we have a sense of, it takes 4 votes to censure, so I think we have a sense of where we're kind of landing on that. But I'll just say I personally, want to ensure that all of us hold the standard of not intimidating staff in the future. And I think that it's pretty clear from the report that we have in our packet that everyone has access to, that participants in this, and I don't know who they are, and I wasn't in this meeting, so I don't know all the details, but they felt some intimidation, and I take that seriously. So I don't support that. And it sounds like, I appreciate the apology, and I think we're talking about an instance and we're talking about our current policy that's on the books for code of conduct, and so I don't support the conduct involved. But I appreciate the apology and that we're all, making an effort moving forward.
Okay. Supervisor Madrone.
Yeah, I appreciate the discussion. Just from a broader perspective, I think the reason that these things happen at this meeting, and I've seen this kind of stuff happen in other cases where, as a supervisor, we have a really difficult job. I don't think I need to convince any of you of that. It's incredibly difficult. And in particular, it's this trying to balance our constituents' concerns with the overall public interest. And I would say that I think the reason the TRL was created and brought forward was very much like the vaping ordinance and other things. There's a concern about public health. And I think we all agree with that. I've heard every single member of this board speak very strongly about concerns for public health. And so we have this public interest stuff that we're working on. And then we have constituents who are not in agreement with maybe what we're trying to do. And that then puts us, as a board member, I've struggled with this a lot, it puts us in a really complicated and difficult place, where on one hand, we feel like we've been elected to represent our constituents, and that's absolutely true. We are. But then on the other hand, we're supposed to work together as a board of 5 to look out for the public interest. And in the Code of Conduct, it says, and I quote, recognizing that stewardship of the public interest must be our primary concern. And we are to work for the common good of the people of the county and not for any private or personal interest. And so that's where the rub comes in. It's like, how do we balance that? And there's been a lot of discussion around the TRL about, and many, many other issues that we deal with about business. How do we support businesses in order to bring in the income into the county and to bring in jobs and the rest of it? And so I just have to say that that's, I think, why this happened, that I think sometimes we can confuse our constituents' interests and make them more important than the overall public interest. And I think that's what happened here. That's just my personal opinion. And I think it happens a lot. So I guess I appreciate the apology. I want to move forward. I really very much hope that we can figure out how, as individual supervisors, to balance that private interest with the public interest, but to make sure that the public interest rules the day. That's our priority. How do we all do that as individuals? I don't know. That's up to each of us as individuals. And the policy, we're going to be meeting to talk about what are the issues, what are the problems with the policy, can we improve it, all that kind of stuff. I look forward to those discussions. But this is the policy that we have right now that this complaint was filed under. So it's what guides us. So I hope that we can remember that really we're here primarily for the public interest. That's our primary concern. And sometimes that means that we're not going to be able to support a particular constituent interest. And that's tough. That's tough stuff to do. But that's, I think, where the rub came in on this particular one, and it comes in on other things. I see it. So I just wanted to say that because I hope that it's a learning opportunity for all of us. I think that's what I heard you say, Supervisor Bone, that it was a learning experience for you. And you took it seriously. I appreciate that. I take you for your word. Known you a long time now, and again, none of this is easy, so thank you.
Okay. I'm going to try and close this out. Just a reminder that the process for us is different. We're supervisors. We're elected, and if we were anyone else in this organization, an incident like that would go straight to HR. HR would have recommendations that they make, and people would need to follow those recommendations, and it's different. We have a different process for us, and I really want to emphasize, if it gets this far, and especially if it's involving employees, we are not the victim. I mean, I just want to be really clear. We're responsible for our behaviors in those situations, and that's something I just want to emphasize. I'm going to ask this question: is there any objection to unanimous consent to the motion? Seeing none, we're ending this discussion. Thank you. With that, we're going to go into closed session, and I'm going to ask that we take about a 15-minute break between now and when we get into the closed session so that we can get a little food in our bellies. Thanks. Excuse me, Council.
Thank you, Chair Wilson. It is the intention of the board to meet in closed session pursuant to California Government Code sections 54954.5 and 54957 in order to consider the public employee appointment for the position of the aviation director. It is also the intention of the board to meet in closed session pursuant to California Government Code section 54957.6 in order to review the county's position and instruct its designated labor negotiators, excuse me.
All right, do we have anyone online for public comment?
We do. Caller 7718, I will unmute you and you'll have 3 minutes.
Don't need my 3 minutes, but I do always support moving forward with some deal, especially with the employees with the SEIU and Home Health Support Services. There's been a long time perception that this just gets dragged on and on and on forever, and it seems to be happening again. Best of luck in trying to get somebody to be your aviation director. I know personal items come around, family issues come around, but it just seems to be something dysfunctional. I strongly support doing your redwood tree or something, getting rid of the barbed wire, razor wire out there, and finding a person who can run your aviation department to do that. You need some landscaping, you need some artwork, and it is your entrance to Humboldt County for many people. I highly recommend that you get somebody who has the ability to either do that themselves or oversee and find someone qualified to do a little bit of sprucing up down there. For goodness sake, it is deplorable what we see when we land there. Take an opportunity to speak on these two topics for closed session.
Is there anyone else online?
No.
All right. Moving on to public comment in the room. Seeing none, we will be in closed session. Give us a few minutes to gather ourselves and a little bit of sustenance. Yeah.
It needs just a minute. All right. All right, we are back from closed session. And County Council, can we have a report out, please?
Thank you, Vice Chair Arroyo. There was no reportable action taken with regard to items J1 and J2.
All right, thank you. With that, we are adjourned. Have a great day, everybody.